Hello and welcome to the monthly What's New in AWS presented by Enterprise Support. We have another action feature-packed episode this month. We're going to cover some releases across AI, storage, compute, and security as well. My colleague Graham will be leading our discussions on AI ML, and we'll also be sharing some updates on our Deepracer League, which I'm super excited to hear about. Simon's going to lead our discussion on storage, and lastly, I'll close with some releases around our security, compute, and database as well. Gents, are you on there? How are you both doing this morning?
Hi, good to be here again, Matt.
Hey, how's Sydney going, and how is Brisbane going, Graham?
Well, Brisbane's getting a bit cold. Last week or so, I've been pivoting from running my air conditioner 24/7 to thinking about turning the heater on.
Don't do that. It's not cold enough yet for that, is it?
No.
Are the hoodies out? That's the question.
I've got my jumper on.
Absolutely. I've turned my heater on in Melbourne already. It's unbelievably cold last week.
We're still in t-shirts in the Gold Coast, so maybe we're a couple of weeks away from the rest of Australia.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, Graham, last night when I was about to go to bed, I was scrolling through my feed and I saw some really exciting announcements. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we have in store today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my head's still spinning from Sydney Summit last week. Was anyone in our audience at Sydney Summit last week? It was a blast. I was at the security booth. Matt, you were there with the enterprise support and AMS booth. Lots of customer interactions, lots of great vibes, actually.
Absolutely. Amazing keynotes too. A lot of good content for the day. And the exec leaders stream as well had a lot of really, really good content. And it was great to meet our customers too.
Yeah, for sure. Nice to be back in person. The last time I had a public summit was in 2019. So I was really raring to go, and it did not disappoint last week.
That's right. I do believe we officially ended the day with no t-shirts left and no jackets left. So swag was in high demand like usual.
I got my socks.
Very good. Very good.
Lucky you.
All right. How about we kick off, Graham? I'm super excited to hear about Deepracer. I'm not sure if you're starting on that one first or not, but I might leave you to it to chat about AI and ML.
No worries. Thank you, Matt. I am looking forward to hosting the Deepracer League announcements with my very good friend Chong Vu in Sydney, but I don't think he's online yet. So in the meantime, for those in the audience, if you are a Deepracer participant, if you've used Deepracer already, let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear about your experience and whether you're planning to join the 2023 Deepracer League. For now, Maya, could you jump onto the second AIML slide and bring on my guest, Tom Liu? We're going to talk about the latest announcement from Amazon SageMaker. We've just released the Inference Recommender to improve usability and some other new features. Tom, please tell us what this means for our customers.
Yeah, this is an exciting feature for a customer to use an Inference Recommender to evaluate proper instant types or like settings when they deploy their model, trained model in SageMaker environments. So maybe before drill down to the detail, we can talk a little bit about why inference. Inference pretty much is for like when you data scientist team or you have a skill to train model with data, and once the model is trained, you potentially want to deploy it and benefit from that, and drive business insight, so on and so forth. And with that, like a typical way to do is that you're going to hand it over to an engineering team, let them figure out the right configuration on the software and right types of infrastructure, like for the deployment or so. It's non-trivial. It's a non-trivial task. And with SageMaker inference services, pretty much we manage the model deployment for customer. Like we provide online and offline. Online with a real time, for example, and offline like a batch inference, for example. And just let me keep talking on this one. I love it.
Look, it sounds like so much heavy lifting for our customers.
Yeah.
Are there what parts of this is managed for our customers? You've mentioned a couple of things around infrastructure. Could you be more specific?
Yes, for sure. Like for example, so if you choose our product, Amazon SageMaker ML platform to make your life easier, then potentially there will be setting you need to do in your model deployment with SageMaker inference, such as real-time endpoint. And some of the challenges from a customer is in regard of if they want to achieve certain level of performance, certain level of like transaction per seconds, or hitting the instant or so, then they need to figure out and benchmarking at their end and see what's the proper infrastructure setting or proper like environment setting, like configuration setting for their
So
deployment.
this sounds like it's really simplifying the production deployment for customers. I remember when endpoints first came out for SageMaker, and the SageMaker endpoints makes it so trivial to be able to deploy a model into production. And now what I'm hearing is that we are also managing the improving efficiency for customers, making sure that they've got improved performance characteristics and that they're able to achieve the production targets. Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. And to do that, usually customer may do the benchmark testing at the end, but with inference recommender, like we just call our Boto 3 APIs, which is Python 1, or you can go to SageMaker Studio, like use the UI or so to trigger like a inference recommender jobs. And you can choose like clarify that which model you want to trial and what types of like a deployment configuration you are trialing. With that setting, and of course, it's more than that. Please feel free to refer to our SDK and documentation. And with that, like run a job for certain, maybe within an hour or couple of hours, then we will share the recommendation for you. Like for example, you have the metrics to understand. Like if we want to hit a certain level, what types of instance type, like what type of instance may suit you, and it potentially like done a lot of heavy lifting for you and guarantee that you don't disappoint your customer on the real time, inference task.
Yeah, nice. And when you're using this, for those of our advanced customers on today's stream, can you talk about like whether they'd be able to optimize for cost or optimize for latency? Like when they're deploying these jobs, can they choose what's more important to them?
Yes, we do support that, especially the deep integrations with Amazon CloudWatch. Like we stream those logs and metric or so. And what you can do, like once the job's been done and those data are on CloudWatch, you can refer to it and based on a scenario, check against those metrics performance or so. And especially like with our API also, you can get the inference like recommendation result from our services. And even that nowadays support you to evaluate your inference job under a VPC environment, which is a very typical scenario that customers do when they have like high regulated requirement. They want to deploy the endpoint also within a VPC setting. And this will make the life much easier and allow them to go deeper easier because like more metrics being provided, such as those like percentile level metrics, and they can base on their need to choose like a proper type of instance and configuration for their production deployment.
Yeah, great. It sounds like there's a real balance between the amount of customization and the value delivered from the managed service. So I really like this one. For our audience, if you think we may be getting the balance right between customization and flexibility, or maybe there's something that's missing, let us know in chat. Maya hasn't been introduced yet, by the way. He's our production guru in the background. Can you move us on to the next slide? We're going to be talking about our latest announcement in generative AI, and this is a big one. Tom, please, can you give us a rundown on what this one means for our customers?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, super exciting. Yeah, this one comes out like US time sometime today or so. Now, basically, the services we offer is to democratize generative AI for our customers, and we want to make our customers' life easier to practice generative AI for their business. And especially as you can see, there are three types of level services we provide as of now. But other than that, we do have those like nowadays so-called large language model or foundation models in SageMaker Jumpstart. It provides some sort of sandpit environment so that you can trial quickly. But other than that, like these services are quite particularly focused on democratize and helping our customer to use train their generative AI use case work quickly. The first one, Amazon Bedrock. So basically, the idea is that it is it's provide the easiest way to build and scale generative AI applications with those pre-trained foundation models. It is new services and making our customers' life easier for you to build application that you generate. You can generate text, image, audio, or synthetic data in response of prompts. Prompt engineering nowadays getting popular for sure. Then, and with this one, it makes your life easier to access those foundation model, and you can do that through APIs. And with those foundation model, we provide a foundation model from those AI startups such as AI21, Anthropic, and Stability AI also. And of course, we have our exclusive, offering Titan family of foundation model, which is developed by us, AWS. And you know what, no single model actually do everything. And Amazon Bedrocks open up an array of foundation model from leading providers, so our customer can benefit the flexibility and made up their mind to choose and trial for their specific needs. Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so this is a common theme, right? That we are providing customers the ability to leverage the foundations that we've put together, which typically are really expensive and time-consuming to put in place. And then customers can focus on tailoring these solutions to their business applications. So starting with the foundation models and then building on those with data and an application specific to providing value for their customers.
Yeah, certainly. And I may also want to quickly mention the other two if I have time.
Please.
Thank you. And the middle one, as you can see, it's an easy to train in one and also easy to inferentiate set two. Like these two are AWS design ARM-based chips to support large language model training and inferencing. Pretty much the general idea is we make our customer doing the model training cheaper and getting better performance. And also the inferencing one, it's definitely for deployment perspective is much lower cost and less energy consumption over the two. So it's kind of a kind of win-win. You save energy while doing your model training or so. And this one is super great in regard of customer really want to do a bit of fine tuning based on some large language model or foundation model in their use case. Yeah,
great. I mean, it's wonderful that customers are able to make sustainable choices, and who doesn't like it when we deliver our own silicon, right?
yeah, indeed. Yeah, and the last one I want to talk about is Amazon Co-Whisper. So this name sounds very whispering though. It's a super great AI generative services, like AI based one. AI based means that it pretty much manage and serve you. And I really love this one. I was a Java developer for about 16 years. Yeah. If you tell me that I'm still look young, thanks for that.
You do, mate. You do.
Thank you. And basically that when I was doing my software development at the time, pretty much I rely on myself. There will be good day, bad days, and on my productivity. And sometimes I've been having hack days in regard of I figure out the code, how to write some code or so, and sometimes very tedious in code review or so. And I really love some sort of coding company to help me check against my code, generate my code. And moving towards to now, Co-Whisper is going to GA, and it's the one I always looking for. And it's pretty much backed by AWS, there's codes and related codes or so, and it's pretty curated, fine-tuned on our like AWS service related and help customer on their code generations, and it integrated with those popular local IDEs such as VS Code, PyCharm, and others. And especially in GA, it's open to like it support. I think it's more than I can't check the number, but my memory is about like a 10 plus like language or so.
Great. Yeah, I've seen our developer advocate Brooke Jamison do some demos on LinkedIn. We've got some comments in the chat. Daily Push has commiserated with you for working for 16 years on Java code. I happen to agree. I just scraped through some Java courses earlier in my career. And Daily Push has a couple of questions. Code Whisperer. Code Whisperer is free, but with caveats. Can you take us through those, Tom?
Can you say the question again? What's a caveat?
Caveat. So Code Whisperer is free. I believe it's free for individual developers, but not for the professional tier.
Yes. So I can check. We can share the link later. But Code Whisperer for free, definitely for individual developers. Free, like you can use it to code generations, suggestions, and it's based on based on the context, such as what code you're doing and your command, and based on command to generate the code for you, a function or so. And talking about the professional tier also, so pretty much those one provide the security and some administrative capability to make your life easier. Security perspective is for the security scanning and give you some idea that how your codes look like or so, and provide suggestion how to remediate or something like that. Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Another question is if it can live with Copilot. I don't think we have that integration, Daily Push, but thank you very much for your questions. And we'll try to think about those in future releases. So I would like to hand over now to our next host to talk about storage. So please, Maya, if you can bring on Simon Lee and move on to the next topic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. That was really exciting. All right. Let's, Maya, can you also bring in Alex as well?
Hi.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Simon. Very well. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's my pleasure. What are we talking about today?
Sure. Brief intro. My name's Alex. I'm a technical account manager based in Sydney at AWS. Today we're talking about some recent storage updates. But first, as you can see on the screen, a birthday. During the recent AWS Pi Day, March 14th, we celebrated 17 years of innovation on S3, or of S3. You may have been following Pi Day through the multiple streams applied over last month.
You know what? I think this is really apt because I think there's another birthday, right? It is your birthday, Alex, today.
It is indeed. A little early. My birthday's tomorrow, but I'll take it any way I can. As my wife said, I'm 21 again. I've been 21 for a long time, but
it's always a multiple of 21, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I try to keep it that way, right? There's a spectacular saying, don't let the old man in. So basically, stay young as long as you can.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I think this is just like S3 because S3 has been a service for 17 years, but we're constantly innovating on S3.
Completely. Look, S3 has come a long way. Look, as one of our first services, when we launched, it was a very simple object storage service. It allowed developers to create, list, delete private storage spaces, known as buckets, upload, download files, and manage access and permissions. The service is only available via REST and SOAP API, was designed to provide highly durable data storage with 11 nines of durability, right? So that's 99 point with 9 more nines. That's a lot of nines. over the years, we've added many capabilities, such as ranges of storage classes, store colder data more cost efficiently, multi-object management, observability features, even integration to services such as Lambda, allowing you to transform data and trigger workloads to automate a variety of other processing activities at scale. Fast forward to 2023, and you've got my quote on, not my quote, a quote on the screen. Amazon's Simple Storage Service holds more than 280 trillion objects, averages over 100 million requests per second, and to protect data integrity performs over 4 billion checksum computations per second. I'll give that a moment to sink in. That's a lot of growth in space over the period and its growth, right? It also allows at its core, hundreds of thousands of data lakes. It's become a critical component of growing ecosystems and serverless applications. As an example, S3 sends over 125 billion event notifications to serverless applications, altogether helping people around the world securely store and extract value from their data. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday indeed.
Oh, I have a question. Will there be an S4, a super simple storage service? It's pretty simple as it is. I think keeping it simple as S3 seems to work pretty well. Okie dokie. Any questions on the birthday?
I guess the only question is, what are you doing tomorrow for your birthday? But we can take that offline later on.
Well, it'll start with a sleep in, I'm sure. I have kids, so probably not. But he's hoping, and I think I'll be going out for a big breakfast. That's it. That's fantastic for me. And coffee is everything.
Always nice.
So
Oh yeah,
that's it. Cool. I see we've moved to the next slide. So the second part of the chat today is further announcements. So as we continue to deliver features in S3, and as we announced late last year, S3 is now deploying 2 new default bucket security settings by enabling S3 block public access and disabling S3 access control lists for all new buckets. So what does this mean? S3 buckets and objects have always been private by default, implied deny. We added block public access in 2018 and the ability to disable access control lists in 2021 to give users more control. Both of these options, block public access and S3 access control lists, are already console default. So disabling one as a default and enabling block public access is also a default. We've long been recommending including AWS Identity Access Management, so IAM, along with these controls to build further flexibility for customers. So starting this month, April, we're rolling out this change across all the regions, and this will complete within weeks. This is basically putting bucket best practice for security into effect automatically. So something else where taking away some of the heavy lifting for customers and building more security in by default.
Yeah.
Once these changes are in effect across all these target regions, all newly created buckets in the regions by default will have, of course, these 2 controls in place. This includes becoming the default for any buckets created using not just the console, but S3 API, the CLI, AWS SDKs, and CloudFormation. Any questions thus far?
I guess the question would be, why would anyone want a public bucket in the first place?
So public buckets. Look, often customers will use S3 buckets as a serverless web server, which in turn needs public access to the content. I have one myself. It's simple, secure, costs cents in the dollar. And I have the additional security feature of putting a CloudFront distribution, forcing HTTPS on top. So not only is it secure at the back end, it's secure in the front end. Basically, our goal is to make it clear that public access is to be used for web hosting. That's the call here. Otherwise, lock it down as best you can. And look, as always, with anything open to the public, we recommend reviewing the bucket objects to make sure they are fit for purpose. So make sure the objects inside your open bucket are as you expect.
And you've mentioned fronting S3 with CloudFront. For a private bucket, you can still do that, right? If you want to host a website, if you want to host public objects.
You can indeed. It's preferred to put CloudFront in front. Firstly, it caches, so it reduces the calls and the cost made from the calls to the bucket. And it allows you to force a HTTPS, excuse me. And you can also lock down host headers, lock down direct access to the bucket, making it far more secure and faster to your delivery.
That's perfect, Alex. That was a quiz, actually.
All
right. What's next?
Well, let's rock and roll. So moving forward to further releases, introducing Mount Point for Amazon S3, high performance open source file client. This is a big win. I reminisce my time as a cloud support engineer supporting S3 among other services, and the many requests from customers on how do I mount an S3 bucket. S3 is an object store, not a file system, but it allows, this tool allows us to make that call. This feature, Mount Point for S3, is open source, and it delivers high throughput access, lowering compute cost, primarily for data lakes on S3, as it's a large call.
Yeah.
What it does in essence, as a file client,
so the use case would be if you have large amount of data on your S3 bucket, assuming, for a data lake or similar use cases, you can now directly integrate that with your instances, right? You can read those, play around with them, but can you write back to the S3 bucket?
At present, no. This is an alpha release, and as part of the alpha release, it's primarily allows for a list and a get. So a list is also a get call. So it's a list or a get call to the bucket. It's ideal for read-heavy data lake workloads that process petabytes of data and needs really S3's elastic throughput to scale up and down across thousands of instances. So supporting random sequential read operations on files, listing files and directories. As an open source project, I'm getting back to the right piece. As an alpha release, it's available to the community. This way we can collect feedback and incorporate it into the design and coming implementations. Basically, you'll be involved in our roadmap.
Yeah, I think it's it's a recent trend, right? That we're really leaning big on having some of our services and connectors being open source, and I think that's a great direction to be going to.
Indeed. Look,
thank you, Alex.
Oh, look,
that was good.
We drive by innovation at AWS. The innovation is driven primarily, in part by, or a large part by customers and their feature requests. Opening this up to the community is key to us continuing to deliver features.
Yeah, agreed. All right, thank you. Any last words before we move on to the next one?
I don't know. I've got my birthday in my mind now, and I'm sleeping in. Mount Points for S3. It's worth some time. Hop into the GitHub, pull down the project, and give it a go.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Alex. I'll leave you to your early birthday celebrations then. All right.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Simon. Thanks all.
No problem. Maya, can we move back to Graham, please?
Thanks, Simon. I have an announcement for Deepracer 2023 League. Maya, is Chung available? Is he online at the moment? Can we have his presence on the stage?
Hello there.
Thank you. Hey, Chung, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Graham. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It was great to see you last week at Sydney Summit running the Deepracer event for our customers. How was it?
It was a great event, Graham. So we hosted over 100 races during the day, and we had quite a few people who came in with their own models. And the winner is actually the current world record holder for that particular track that we raced at Summit.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. World record holder was present at Summit. That's amazing. I didn't know. Is it an Australian? Where are they from?
Yeah, so he's an Australian. He's been racing only for a couple of years. He started out with no knowledge of machine learning at all, and he participated in Deepracer in one of his company's events. From there, he progressed to learning the finer techniques of tuning Deepracer models, and now he's finished top of the Summit League. Plus, also, as I mentioned, he set the fastest time this year for now. We still have a few months to go of the league. And he's currently holding the world record at 7.7 seconds.
That is fast. That is fast. Let's quickly make this announcement about the 2023 AWS Deepracer League. It's pretty exciting. Lots of new opportunities for customers to get involved.
Great. Yes. So Deepracer itself is a competition that we run across the world. It is one of the first autonomous model racing competition of anyone. And we've run this now since 2019. For 2023, we have a new tiered competition for anyone who wants to compete. Now, this tiered competition is you can compete at Summit, as I mentioned. So that's a physical event. There will be 12 races available at Summit. We just had the Sydney and Paris one completed. We'll go to Tokyo, Berlin, Mumbai, Hong Kong, London, Shanghai, Washington, Madrid, Taipei, and New York. They are the physical summits that you can participate in. So if anyone's in the region at the right time, our next one's going to be Tokyo and Mumbai coming up in May. Do try and participate. If you come first, as our participant did recently in the Sydney Summit, you will win a ticket to reInvent with all expenses paid for the whole week. And you will get to compete with some of the best competitors in the world against and representing ANZ, right? So you're from ANZ.
Oh, fantastic. So not only do you get to get the buzz and the excitement from participating in these events, but you also get to come to our major public summit in reInvent. It's held, correct me if I'm wrong, November or December annually?
It's late November and very early December, and Las Vegas. Yes.
In Las Vegas. Fantastic. That's awesome, Chung. I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses throughout the rest of the year. And thank you so much for coming on to our show today and giving us an update on the latest for Deepracer.
Yeah, just a quick one. For people who can't go to the physical summit, there is a virtual league that we're hosting from March till September this year. Now, that virtual league, again, is broken into regions, and we are in the Asia Pacific region. So if you're interested in participating, all you need to do is set up an AWS account. What you do is go to the Deepracer, train a model. It can take up to 1 hour, 2 hours, however long you want to train it. You do get 10 hours free as a free tier. And after you train a model, just submit it to the league. Now, the top 10% in your country, so for us, Australia, you're in the top 10%, you win a $50 voucher to buy some Deepracer swag on Amazon.com. And if you're in top of the region, so we're in APAC, so you're competing against India, Singapore, Korea, and Japan. If you top the region, again, for each month, you get a ticket to reInvent, right? So anyone who tops this, yeah. You also, if you're top 5, you do get $400 USD voucher to spend on anything you want. You can buy your own Deepracer device or anything you want. So it's a great competition. It is open to everyone who wants to participate. And yeah, hopefully someone here would win some prizes.
That's great. There's never been a better time to get started with AWS Deepracer, and so many opportunities to win prizes and get more value out of it.
Thank you, Graham.
Thanks a lot, Chung. I'm going to hand over now to Matthew Platts, who's going to talk about a large number of topics. We've got database, we've got compute, we've got security.
We do. We've got a few things to roll through. I just wanted to say that map looks pretty cool as well. So I'm looking forward to how some of the models that our customers create and then how it applies to that new map.
Absolutely, yeah. I was looking at the major hairpin that looks like it's almost a 180 degrees and thinking, oh my goodness, how is a car going to get around that on a physical track? Lots of excitement for whoever's running after the cars, right?
Absolutely. And I'm seeing a few comments in chat as well around S4, our super simple storage service. So I'm really keen to see what might happen with that in the future. There's some really good ideas that are being shared.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. We might jump forward, Maya. We'll have a look at compute just for a moment. A couple of releases to mention here. Amazon Linux 2023 has now been released. So what you can expect for this is we've committed to a major release every 2 years and 5 years of support. So there's a fair bit of predictability there for customers that are looking at their next OS version when it comes to Linux. Couple of call outs. So obviously it's got Graviton support, it's got AWS support tools baked in, and there's no licensing as well. SE Linux is turned on, but it's in permissive mode. So for anyone, I don't know, Graham, if you have used SE Linux before, it's pretty much the only mode you can use if you want a working application. But it's a really good starting point around really understanding what your application's doing and what it needs to perform its tasks.
That's right. And for customers that need the additional controls, they can turn it on to the other modes and start implementing more security controls into their running operating system.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Instance metadata service V2 is also turned on by default. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big call outs as well is we have now turned on what we call deterministic upgrades. Have you had a chance to use that before, Graham?
Actually, I'm not sure what that means. Can you give me an example of when you might want to use a deterministic upgrade?
Yes. So you might be familiar with pinning inside, say, a package manager like Aptitude. So with an apt pin, you can just basically say, hey, look, I know that there's a new version of this package that's available. Maybe it's Nginx on version 1.24, but for my requirements right now, I just want to hold it back and put it on 1.18. When it comes to deterministic upgrades, it's kind of similar, but it's a little bit different. What you're doing is specifying a point in time where you want to say, hey, look, patch my operating system to last Sunday. Calculate what the versions and all the packaging requirements are to that point, and then that becomes your anchor point for that you can take into other deployments. So you might want to take that into your next environment and ultimately push it through all the way to production. So it gives you a bit more of a predictable base image that you can use to do your testing and verification.
So is this avoiding the situation that I've faced in the past where there's been like a package I've installed on my computer and I've specified a version, but the owner of that package has created some changes in that version without incrementing the version number? Is that what this is avoiding?
Pretty much, yeah. It gives you a bit more control over your upstream. So you can just say, hey, look, if I've pushed to my dev and my QA environments Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday there's a new release that comes out, I want to just ignore that new package release for the moment, stick to what I've already tested, and then once next week rolls around, we can go ahead and pick up the new version in the next cycle that comes through.
That makes sense.
Obviously, yeah, it makes sense, right? Also, it doesn't necessarily, you wouldn't use this for something like a 0 day. If there is a patch that you want to push through and you push it through immediately, you can just have another process that comes through and rolls those security patches as well.
Great. Are any of our let us know in the comments.
Definitely. You cut out there a little bit for me, Graham. I'm not sure if that was me or you. Are you still there?
I think I'm still here. I can hear me.
Okay. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think we might be back online. Just a little bit of NBN fun for the morning.
That's right.
EKS, available in Melbourne.
Kubernetes.
Super
Wow.
exciting, super exciting. Yeah. So
Another cab
for
off the
anyone,
rank for our new region.
absolutely. Yeah, I've got a lot of customers that have reached out and we're really excited for this release. A lot of customers obviously, using Kubernetes in Sydney and are looking at multi-region for some of their container workloads. So it's really excited to see them go out into Melbourne and start scaling out for multi-AZ in ANZ for their Kubernetes workloads.
And I'm going to open a can of worms here, Matt. What's your preference, right? Do you like to use some of the raw Docker commands, or what do you prefer, ECS over EKS? Where do you stand here?
We we do not have the time to go into that at all. I will say that as I'm a free and open source guy, so I don't mind either Kubernetes or Docker. I don't mind, but I will say it does depend. So Docker, Kubernetes, is going to give people a high degree of customization. So if you're really looking for that in your deployment, if you're looking for a lot more control on how you run your worker nodes and what they do and where they are and some of the storage and networking underpinning that, then Kubernetes is great. If you just want to get not so much started, I mean, Docker has got a lot of advanced features as well. But if you're starting your modernization journey, Docker's a really great place to start it as well. So there's the answer is it's maybe, and there's pros and cons in each way.
And for anybody who's thinking about going into Kubernetes and not running complex microservices, I think the Elastic Container Service we've got is a great place to get started, at least in dev. And then if your use case requires more complexity, to move on to something like Kubernetes that will give you so much more flexibility.
Yeah, and a lot of options. So I think about EKS Anywhere, which allows you to run Kubernetes in your own on-premise environment, in your own existing servers. Still connected to the AWS cloud to give you the configuration and all of that support as well. So there's a lot of options here in the container world, and it's really exciting to see that we're building it out now into Melbourne as well.
Sounds great.
Just a quick honorable mention here around auto scaling. So we've added a new feature which allows for arithmetic in target tracking policies. So basically what it allows is just you to use basic maths. So your adds, your additions, your divides, your multiplication in how you calculate. Target tracking, for anyone who isn't familiar with it or hasn't used that specific policy in the past, it basically is like a thermostat. It's you saying, hey, I want to keep this at a desired range. And then the algorithm is calculating around it to keep that metric within the certain performance range that you're looking for.
Do you see any common patterns or similar themes here?
We do. So one thing that we do see a fair often is that customers will create custom CloudWatch metrics. And by creating them, let's be honest, you're also paying for those metrics. So one opportunity here is around if a customer does have, say, for example, they're looking at the number of messages in a queue for SQS. Now they have the ability, instead of actually using a custom metric to manage the size of that queue as a calculation relative to potentially, the size of of a Kubernetes cluster, for example. Now you can go ahead and within the target tracking policy, take the queue, do the divide or do the multiplication, whatever you need to do, and then feed that directly into the target tracking policy, which is pretty cool. So it'll allow your customers to save money and reduce the number of custom cloud metrics that they have.
Yeah, sounds a bit simpler. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. We might jump forward. The next one I wanted to talk about is DevOps Guru for RDS now supports Postgres. So kind of piggybacking on the conversation just before around free and open source, and I love Postgres. It's one of my favorite engines. But when I was looking at this one, I also realized that I haven't done too much personally with DevOps Guru. And the more I looked at this feature, I really understood and really appreciated some of the features and some of the automation that it was bringing into DevOps environments. Have you had a chance to use it at all before, Graham?
No, I'm standing in the same boat as you, but go on, Matt. Give us one of your war stories and tell us how this is going to make a big difference to your life.
I'm not quite sure it's going to make a big difference to my life these days, but the one that I think about is back in the day, we would have, you would hear from the product team or maybe your observability and monitoring teams would say, hey, look, something's running a bit slow. What's going on? It starts with an infrastructure review that they look at, infrastructure, compute, storage. It all mostly looks fine. And then eventually it gets to the database team. Database team says, oh, look, we've got an index that's not being used. It's table scanning. It's database storage now is running hot. And ultimately, with the index not being used, the performance of an application query is not where it should be. So that takes time to eventually get to the DBA that says that an index is broken. And what DevOps Guru for RDS does, it sits directly at that layer and is using machine learning to inspect, review, respond to all of the different ways and all the different operational considerations for RDS. So it's going to detect instantly that you do have potentially a table scan or something going on within your RDS instance, and then provide the recommendations to go ahead and remediate that, either as a DevOps engineer or as a DBA as well. So it really cuts down that time to resolution within the incident.
Yeah, that's going to be a major boost. Wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
I see the GP3 update. This is a nice one.
Yeah, I thought so too. I see a lot of customers moving from GP2 to GP3, obviously for the cost and performance benefits. But I thought I'd just do a mention here. RDS Custom, for anyone who hasn't used it, it's effectively, it's RDS, but it gives you the ability to customize some of the underlying operating system and database environment as well, which in a typical RDS instance, you might not have that ability to do, or you're not really looking to do. So it really applies here for legacy applications or for some specific COTS workloads that are pretty picky in how they operate. They want a certain set of environment variables to even run. So I thought I'd call it out there. Yeah, RDS Custom now supports GP3, full range. So it's got the 20% lower cost compared to GP2, but you're still looking at 40 gig all the way up to 64 terabytes as well. So a few options there in regards to how you can configure it.
Okay, cool.
Last but not least, in database, what I did want to talk about was, so DMS now supports data validation when you dump it to S3. So for anyone who doesn't know, data validation effectively allows you to look at your change data capture. So as the database is running, it's comparing the actual queries it gets to what's been applied to disk. And it gives you that extra assurance that what has been run in database 1 has also now been effectively applied as well in the second instance, which in this instance is S3.
So what's a common use case for this then? Is it around providing more, security for customers, security and knowing that the right type of schema is applied to the data or processing to the data?
Yeah, good question. I see it really as an assurance step. So for, say, from some large banking customers that might be doing a banking migration, you might be moving off Sybase or an Oracle database and moving it to, you might be modernizing it at the same time. So you're moving it over to, say, Aurora DB. So what you might look at from a release planning standpoint is step 1, export it to S3, export it to disk, the original database. And then step 2, look at also instantiating a replication to Aurora and doing the continuous replication where you can do your testing and verification in that new environment. And DMS can take care of both of those things.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
You got some security releases for us, Graham, I believe?
We do. Just while we're going through these, I'm really curious. What's our audience doing when it comes to security? In particular, do you have a preferred compliance framework that you're following, either within your business or within your business unit? Like what's important to you? What's your preferred framework? I don't want to start a heated debate here online, but I am curious what's top of mind, right? At the end of the day, what really matters is that you pick one and follow it. We've got a couple of announcements here. Our application load balancers now supporting TLS 1.3. So Matt, what would this mean to you?
Faster and more secure. It's that simple. I think we are very lucky where the web now is very much running with TLS. Everything is encrypted, or at least we're getting very close to that. And now with TLS 1.3, it's our connections are going to be faster and it's going to be more secure as well.
Yeah, great. I did have some customers that were really hanging out for this release. I know that running the latest security protocols is really important. Not just in staying compliant, but also in making sure that you have the most secure endpoints for your applications. What other details are going to be valuable for our customers here?
There's probably there's a couple of features that I really like. So the performance encryption latency is effectively reduced by half. So the overhead to encrypt is reduced, and the user experience is obviously going to be improved from that. The other feature that I do like as well, and this one was new to me when I did look into it, is if you're now accessing a site that you previously visited, within the first request and the first message to the server, you can actually go ahead and send data as well. So instead of it just being a handshake and then a negotiation and then you send the data, you've got the ability to really kick off a little bit quicker whatever the interaction is that you're trying to do.
So performance improvements, not just in the processing, but also in the protocol and how it's actually
payloads. Yeah, exactly.
Dealing with messaging. That's really cool. Great.
Yeah.
We've got an update in Security Hub now supporting the NIST updates. So for this one, I think we've got an additional 224 automated controls against the 121 NIST requirements. And it's supported by 36 services. So this is a substantial update.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot in there. I personally haven't used this just yet, but I'm really excited to see when we look at our controls in AWS, we call them the standards, right? So you go into Security Hub and you enable the standard. There's rules, which are represented as security controls as well. But yeah, really excited about this one. I think it's going to give a lot of assurance to our customers who need this level of security compliance.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that no one's replied in chat, so I'm not sure whether security compliance doesn't matter or they don't care, but it's something that we'll probably want to touch on in future streams. So I'll ask again in the next one and see whether we get a different response.
Sounds good, Graham. I think that covers it for all our releases this month. Thank you so much, Graham. That was really interesting with everything you covered, not just with Chung and Deepracer, but also the AI ML. Alex, happy birthday for tomorrow. Hopefully you go out and have a bit of fun and have a time to relax as well. That's it for this week. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you this time next month.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.